So I welcome you all to the first day for Game Changer webinar session for advanced taxation. My name is Saniya Asif, and I am going to be your mentor for ATX UK stream. All right. So this is going to be an almost 3 hours long session in which I'll be discussing few things, few do's and don'ts, which you need to be well aware of while attempting your exam. And besides that, we'll be doing a comprehensive practice for a question on practice platform. And it is about a practice set of question, which is like taken up from the study hub, right? Okay. So let me just give you a brief introduction of mine. It's been like more than 19 years. In fact, I must say that it's like almost 20 years since I am in this field of teaching taxation and advanced taxation. Besides that, I am involved in teaching financial accounting at the level of ACCA Financial Diploma, and I have taught these subjects at various local as well as for other qualifications as well, like SEMA UK and all. In the past, I have conducted many train the trainer sessions, which were organized by ACCA by visiting multiple countries and like discussing the courses in shorter, like few days, and giving short introduction of few things. And this is how, like, somehow you may also call it as a crash course. So certain train the trainer sessions precisely in the form of crash courses were given in the past. Then I conducted study schools. Besides that, I'm a content writer for ACCA, have managed many exam-oriented content material for emerging markets. And here is my WhatsApp number. You may contact me if in case you find any issue, any apprehension, anything which you come across, which you find like a little bit disturbing, or this is like creating a confusion. You may very easily coordinate with me on my WhatsApp number. It is like right there in front of you. Then if you people are already enrolled at VIFHE, then you must be a part of our enrolled students WhatsApp group. If you people are not yet enrolled, then this is the link to the global group. You may also become a part of our that kind of group in which we have multiple students who are in the same board who are going to appear in their advanced taxation exam for June 2026 attempt. And if you become a part of our this global group, you may have a chance to interact with multiple people to gain insight of new things. You may have an access to multiple resources and all. Let me just share this, the link of this group with you people in your chat box, because I think not each and every one of you is like already a part of this group. So this is like kind of a very helpful group with respect to your preparation towards advanced taxation exam. All right. Then, as starting with advanced taxation, I must say one thing very clearly, that it has got the highest pass percentage if we compare it with the rest of the other professional papers. Having said that, it has got the highest pass percentage. The syllabus of advanced taxation is comprehensive as well. Majority of you students must be like facing this issue that it's like you had to cover a lot of things, and there are still a lot of things which are in the pipeline which you need to cover. And there's like an ample quantity of practice material which you have to go through. A lot of rules are there which you need to cram, which you need to retain in your mind. Well, this is all true, that yes, the syllabus of advanced taxation is very comprehensive. But see, once you've gone through the syllabus, once you have covered the syllabus, then dealing with advanced taxation exam itself is a very, comparatively, a very light thing if you just compare it with the rest of the professional papers, and which is why it has got a highest pass percentage. So what you need to do is that you really need to prepare yourself for advanced taxation exam. And if your preparation is like on the spot, then paper itself, I mean, the exam itself is not going to create any issue, right? I'll come back to this point later that why students fail. Okay. So if you are amongst those students who are going to re-attempt their advanced taxation exam, see, you need to assess that in which category you are falling. If you had obtained less than 45 marks in the past, then it would mean that your technical knowledge is weak. You really need to concentrate on the principles, the rules, the syllabus of advanced taxation. I mean, you really need to have a good grip on the syllabus, first of all. Maybe the way you have presented the question that might not have clicked your examiner, but whenever a student is going to secure less than 45 marks, then usually what we believe that there is like some serious concern, some serious problem with the preparation side as well. Okay, for that purpose we are going to offer crash course, or you may also call it as a revision batch, to those students who would like to enroll themselves now. See, in our revision classes, you will have an access to maximum number of videos which are covering the topics. I wouldn't say all, but maximum important, frequently tested topics, which is like almost about 60 to 70% of the whole syllabus that is like going to be provided. And with that, you will have an access to all practice questions. Then you will be included as a part of our enrolled students WhatsApp group, where you just like keep on asking as many questions as possible. You will have an access to our e-notes and the PDF of PowerPoint slides. And then you people will be given the 2 mock exams, out of which one will be held in the same exam simulation. I mean, we'll be giving you 3 hours and 15 minutes for doing a certain exam. The exam will be submitted by you people, and then later on I'll check it and give you a detailed feedback on it. So all of such things are included in the revision package along with the grand revision session. So all the resources which we usually provide to our regular students, along with the pre-recorded material for majority of the topics, and like giving you an access to the to all the practice question. This is like a key feature of joining our revision batch. Though today is 8th of May, but if in case you will be like spending 10 to 15 days in a very comprehensive way by utilizing the course, then it is going to be very beneficial. For the sake of admission and having any query, this is the number of our support team. Let me just copy paste it in your dialog box as well, so that if in case later on you really need to have some sort of help or you would like to interact with them, this is their relevant contact details, right? Okay. Now, when it comes to advanced taxation exam, what I've told you that if it is like for the second time you're going to appear in this exam, then you need to assess that what has happened previously. If you had secured less than 45 marks, then you really need to develop a good grip over the course material. And which is why we have set this revision batch. So if in case you would like to polish your concept, this is going to be a good initiative. And of course, if in case you had not done the practice rightly, if it was not done sufficiently, then this might be a reason of securing less than 45 marks. But all those students who had been able to grab in between 45 to 49 marks, one thing is for sure that the problem with their course I mean, the syllabus material, that is not huge. They must be having a good grip as far as their syllabus is concerned, but there could be a chance that they might not have attempted their question paper properly. If in case you are not able to complete your exam timely, that might be leaving a bad impression on the minds of your examiner. So always try attempting 100% of the paper, because this is something which is going to create the first impression on the examiner. Maybe you have answered the question, but it was an insufficient response. I mean, you might have answered a certain question, but maybe you had to give few other points, few more points as well. But considering you have not given the response properly, which is why just because of like giving an insufficient response, you might not have been able to grab good marks. Uh, Not focusing on the verbs. See, right now when I'll start discussing the practice of a practice set, I mean, that is basically a combination of a past exam style paper. I will let you have an insight of the fact that one really needs to focus on the verb mentioned in the requirement of the question. I mean, calculate this thing, give an explanation, explain this, demonstrate this, highlight this. So all the action words, I mean the verbs which are provided in the exam, these are like a focusing things. According to that, there could be a chance that examiner might have asked an advice from you people. You people had just provided the calculation and forgot to give an advice. So that is like creating an insufficient response. And if you are going to create an insufficient response, of course you will not be able to get sufficient marks. And see, doing mock is a must. If you people do not appear in mock exam, if you do not take up any exam before entering the real exam center, then this would be creating a huge trouble, because by going through the mock, you will be like having a great deal of idea that how the question appears in front of you, how you will have to answer certain question, what is like going to be the drafting strategy, which things are to be kept in mind while you are going to present your answer. If you lack these things, then of course you will not be able to grab good marks. So lack of practice, and especially lack of like doing the practice on the practice platform, especially in terms of mock, that is like going to be a major reason behind failing an exam. And see, in our exam, we are having two sections, section A and section B. In most of the cases, students are able to deal with section B questions in an appropriate manner, but they usually um, get a trouble while handling section A questions. So if you are not going to present your section A solution in an appropriate way, that might become a biggest reason of failing your exam, right? So this is basically a general analysis of an examiner, that why usually a student fail. And I'm just going to take you to Study Hub. I mean, basically, precisely the ABC computer-based exam platform, where I shall keep on telling you that which things are to be kept in mind while drafting a certain response, while drafting a certain answer. And I hope you know one thing, that what our exam pattern is. Our exam is going to be of 3 hours and 15 minutes. I mean, altogether, it is of 195 minutes. It is going to be a comprehensive exam, so one should really need to be vigilant while uh, drafting their responses. I mean, it's not like that you'll be spending much time on thinking about a certain aspect. It is something which should be done on think and done basis. I mean, you really need to train your mind in such a way that whensoever exam appears in front of you, you just start writing the things instantly once you have gone through the entire scenario. So usually what we say to students, that out of 3 hours and 15 minutes, you need to spare 15 minutes for the sake of reading the questions. And it is not like that you are going to read the whole of the it's a question paper first. It's like you will be going through either section A first, or you're going to be dealing with either say question number 2 or question number 3 first. So whatsoever the question you would like to do first, you will have to spend certain time on reading the whole question first. And then you will be left with 3 hours, I mean, A1 80 minutes for the sake of handling the question. So 180 minute is basically the total minute which is to be spent for the sake of drafting your response for section A, section B, and section C question. Well, in section A, it is of worth 50 marks and it will be containing only one question, while second question and third question will be found in section B. Each question will be of worth 25 marks, and that's how the whole of your exam will be containing 100 marks, out of which you need at least 50 marks to pass your exam, right? So you really need to divide your time, that how much time you will be spending on every requirement. So for instance, in a standard way, if you have to deal with 100 marks paper, then that would mean that approximately 1.8 to 2 minutes are to be spent for the sake of securing 1 mark. So for instance, you start with section A question first, and you have to deal with requirement having 5 marks, then you really need to set a timer that 1.8 minute per mark needs to be spent. So for a question of worth 5 marks, you have approximately 9 minutes altogether. 9 to 9.5, that is the question. So in these minutes, all you have to do is you will have to draft your answer relevant to 5 marks worth. And this is how, if you always set a certain target for completing a question, and if you just keep on like answering the questions according to the targeted time, then of course you would avoid the problem of not completing the paper on time. So completing your exam is must. And for the sake of completion of your exam, you really need to have a good practice so that on exam day, you wouldn't get puzzled at each and every step. Taking a mock will help you out because this is how you'll be familiar with the system, with the software, and this is how things will become easier on the exam day. And at the end, when during the exam, you're going to set a target time, you will not like lag behind. You will be covering each and everything precisely, accurately, and on timely basis, right? Is there anything else you need to say? If yes, then please drop your concern in the dialog box. If you people have any concern or query, you may please drop your concern in the dialog box. And then I shall take you to practice platform where we will be handling the whole exam. A certain portion of that exam will be handled today, and the remainder portion of this exam will be done tomorrow, as this game changer revision webinar is basically comprising over 2 days. All right, so here is the fourth exhibit, which I had just opened to show you the information. I hope my voice is audible. I've scrolled up the screen a little bit. And this is the last piece of information related to this exhibit. And that's how we will be done with the first 4 exhibits of this question. And the last one, which does contain the requirements, will then be taken into account one by one. All right. I just hope that you people must have gone through these exhibits. And now I am going to take you to the last exhibit, which is about requirements. But see, here you will find another tab as well saying requirements, but it is a general statement mentioned over here that it says, like, you can see that you should assume that today's date is 1st March 27 and respond to the instructions in the email from your manager. The split of the mark allocation is shown in Exhibit 5. I mean, actually requirement by requirement, how many marks are associated with every requirement, that is shown in Exhibit 5. which I've already told you people before, and that is how the concepts are going to be covered for first 40 marks, and professional marks will be awarded for demonstration of skills in communication, analysis, and evaluation, skepticism, and commercial acumen in your answer. So the professional skills will be awarded to that person who will be presenting the answer in a prescribed way, and that will be of worth 10 marks. Let me just tell you that with section A, there are four professional styles which need to be adopted. As in, first of all, you people will be asked to draft your answer in a certain way. The communication skill is very important. Your examiner will tell you that what communication style is demanding. And according to that style, when you are going to draft your response, then you'll be able to get appropriate marks. I mean, you need to take into account of the format that is being desired in the question. Your examiner may ask you either draft an email or to write a memorandum or to draft some reports. So whatever the style of communication they are requiring, you will have to prepare the format accordingly. And the other thing is that I do have a document which I'll be sharing with all of you people. I mean, once this session is concluded, it is about the PDF of the formats. I mean, the communication styles that could be tested. If it is like asked to prepare a memorandum or write a report, then which kind of format your examiner will be requiring. If you are asked to generate internal notes, then what kind of format you would need to make. So I'll be sharing this document with you people as well. And of course, I shall keep on like telling you that how exactly it has to be taken into account while drafting your response. All right. Then apart from communication skill, another skill is about analysis and evaluation. This is like another skill, analysis and evaluation. When you are given with the two alternatives, two choices, two situations, you will have to analyze the pros and cons, their tax implication, the income being generated out of each option in detail, and hence you will be able to analyze the whole situation, and finally you will evaluate that which option is going to be the better of the two. In your exam, you will definitely be finding multiple requirements in such a way that you will have to compare or analyze a certain situation, or you'll have to make an analysis in between multiple situations. So this is like another professional skill which will be graded. And then skepticism, being skeptical, I mean, interrogative about a certain situation, that is also a required attribute. As in certain questions, there may be a chance that a little bit shaky kind of information is given. The information is maybe omitted at few points, and you being skeptical, you will be pinpointing the importance of any date, any situation that may change your decision. So being skeptical, being interrogative, inquisitive about a certain thing, that it may happen if certain situation is being met, or if it can be avoided if certain thing is like going to be imposed. So the thing is being skeptical, showing your skeptic skills, that is like another skill which will be graded. And then last but not the least, in the question, there may be a chance that apart from taxation, the other things will be tested. By other things, I mean to say, this is not just about doing the discussion about tax treatment. Sometimes the timing of taking an action, the cash flow problems, or any other problem apart from taxation is also important, and it plays a vital role in deciding something, in choosing up a certain scenario, in choosing up a certain package. So the thing is, discussing all those points which may affect our decision other than tax is like showing your commercial acumen skill. So this is like also needs to be shown whenever it is required, whenever it is like being asked with any requirement, and it will also be graded, right? Okay, so these four skills are gonna be tested throughout your Section A question. Now I am finally going to open Exhibit 5, the last exhibit of all exhibits, which will contain the requirements. So could you see that in the start it is said to the tax senior from the tax manager. Subject is core. Date of 1st March 27 is given, and then you are given with a certain structure in which they have told you about the relationship between the parties, which are set out below. Florence is the sister to Core. Core's wife is Dana. They are having a daughter, and Core is having 100% shareholding in Fourth Limited, while Fourth Limited is controlling Fourth Limited with 60% shares. So this is the important structure which we need to keep into account. And then it is said that I would like you to prepare a memorandum to client file consisting of the work set out below. So technically, what communication style they are demanding, they are asking you to prepare a memorandum. And when you are start dealing with a certain requirement, you really need to focus on the verbs. Okay. So this is the first requirement. Here we need to explain how Kore's UK residence status for the tax year 26-27 will be determined and conclude on the likely residence status for that year. Okay, so here the first verb that I have identified is to make an explanation, and we need to give a conclusion as well on his likely residence status for that year. I have already confirmed that none of the automatic overseas or automatic UK tests have been met for the tax year 26-27, and you therefore do not. Another action word, the verb is given that I am not going to discuss any such thing like automatic overseas test or automatic non-automatic UK test or automatic overseas test. And then another verb which is like important over here is to state. How becoming UK resident would affect Kore's liability to UK income tax. And for the purposes of this part, you are not required to consider the availability of split year treatment. And this part of the question is carrying 6 marks. Okay, so we need to explain, we need to conclude, and then we need to state the income tax implication. And the best part with Section A questions is that they are going to identify that in which exhibit you will be able to find the relevant information for the sake of drafting your response. It is going to be found in Exhibit 1. Okay, so I'm just going to open Exhibit 1 once again. See, this is the information you've already gone through, but let me just tell you that it is like right there in front of you once again. This is the important piece of information which you really need to know. Just give it a 1 minute again, and then I'll discuss the solution with you people. I hope that you have gone through the question once again. The requirement, which is the information that is like necessary for the sake of fulfilling the requirement. Okay, now the next part is that students, you are always given with the response options. You may either click word processing document, you may click on spreadsheet. All you need is to decide that in which specific way your examiner is asking you to draft your response. As this could be determined with the help of the verbs, you need to explain, you need to conclude, and you need to state. So these all are the descriptive actions. It is not exactly requiring any calculation. Or if it does require a calculation and it is a minimum level of calculation to be carried out, then we prefer using Word document, right? So whenever you are asked to draft your response in a descriptive way by making the statements, then of course you are going to open the Word document, or there could be a chance a little bit of the calculation alongside the description will be asked as well. Either way, you will be picking up the word processing document. But if in case in any question you find that an extensive level of calculation needs to be carried out, if extensive level of calculation needs to be done, then you will have to use the spreadsheet. And in such questions where you need to give description, and it does require extensive level of calculation. I mean, both of the things are to be done, and it does include the calculation to be like made on a certain extensive scale. Then you will be using both of the documents, and I'll tell you that how these both documents are to be used simultaneously. But first of all, I'm going to click on the word processing document. Okay. And the first thing is that I am going to put a heading, either one main heading or one main and further subheadings. Heading, headline needs to be given. This does create a good impression. And if you just go through the standard solution of the questions by doing the practice from Kaplan Revision Kit, you will find that your examiner always gives a heading in the start of every question, right? So it is basically a memorandum which is being made for multiple things, which we will have to deal later as well. See, in the requirement in the start, they said, even before starting requirement A, they said, make a memorandum, and then in the in the memorandum, you'll be covering the requirement A, B, C. So it is not just about the memorandum to be made for only requirement A. The requirement is the main thing that they mentioned, they highlighted in the start, under which we will be covering various requirements. So again, word processing document is opened. I am just going to make a memorandum. In case of memorandum, you will first of all be mentioning for the client files. With memorandum, it's always like you are going to create an internal document which you will use later, as it will help you in drafting the main responses by having a meeting with the officials within the firm and all. And you are definitely going to save this information, or you may call it as a certain working in a certain folder. So it is like, for you are just going to draft this memorandum for the files, for the folders. So you'll say it's for the client file, and then you need to mention the name of the client. As see on your computers, you must be making a certain folder, and then within the folder, when you open the folder, you will find further folders for every purpose. So this is how the main folder is for client file, and the client name is, as you could see, it's Core. And then you need to mention the subject of this memorandum. See, you will be dealing with requirement A, B, C, all under it. So this is like multiple issues related to him and his company, the Quad Limited. So we will say that personal and company tax matters, or you may also write simply various tax matters. In most of the cases, you will find that examiner writes various tax matters. So personal and company tax issues or tax matters. And then last but not the least, it is about the date. And you will always be putting a date which is mentioned in the question. I hope you remember that it was 1st of March 2027. And yes, there is like one further important thing as well, that who is preparing this memorandum. So we will have to mention the name, the designation of the person who is going to prepare the memorandum. It's always like that in most of the cases, you will find that your examiner writes tax advisor. You may write tax senior, tax advisor, and here, as according to the Exhibit 5, in which it was said that this is the email you got from tax manager, and this is who you are, who has received the email. So your designation is like precisely the tax senior, right? So according to what is mentioned over here, the tax senior, because you got the email first and its response is being drafted in the form of memorandum. All right. So this is how you have made the memorandum. And now when you are going to start drafting your answer for this requirement A, you will be mentioning the heading. Now you may make any heading according to what they have asked. In requirement A, we need to mention the Kore's resident status and his income tax implication, or maybe whatever the requirement that may come in your mind, you may write it down over here. So giving a heading is a must, it is mandatory. And as long as your heading is like relevant to the requirement, then that would be fulfilling the purpose. Okay, one more thing, as what I've said, that the advanced taxation exam is a comprehensive one. So for the sake of saving my time, what I am going to do, I'm just going to click on this. I hope it is like a little bit visible. The requirement, right? So I am just going to click on the requirement and I am going to see, I am going to highlight the lines. So it is not efficiently being done right now. Let me just try again. It was at least previously being done. Okay. So sometimes what happens is that then when you are going to click on the requirement, at least that line or few lines are selected. You are going to copy it and then you're going to paste it on the Word document and turning those requirements into heading. And this is like going to save your time. Maybe it will work if I reopen it. So see, I have copied. I'm just going to highlight the line. Control plus C is the shortcut for copy, and I am just going to paste it over here. So core is UK resident status for the tax year 26-27, and as in the sub requirement, we had to deal with income tax implication as well. So this is how I have made the heading, and I'm going to draft my answer. Fine. First of all, I'm going to determine the resident status of Korea. You've gone through the question once again. See, first of all, whenever we have to determine the resident status of any person, we will be applying the automatic non-residence test. If automatic non-residence test is not going to tell you anything, I mean, if it is not fulfilled, then you need to check the automatic residence test. But considering it is explicitly mentioned in the question that none of the automatic test is going to be fulfilled, so I am not going to apply it over here. Rather, on the basis of the fact whether Kure was resident in the previous tax year and how many days he is going to visit UK right now in the current tax year, and how many ties he does have with the UK. These are those things which lead to the determination of his UK residence status. So I will mention that his residence status will be determined in Sukore's residency test will be determined on the basis of statutory test which requires the number of days he will be spending in UK, along with the number of ties he has with UK, right? So this is how I have made the first valid point. See, according to Exhibit 1, how many days he is like going to spend in 7? It is said that in the tax year 26-27, he is spending 115 days. And do you remember that there is a specific table, his uh, residence status for UK is? If you have remembered the table, then that's fine. But as we all know that in advanced taxation exam, a little bit of the exam oriented information will be given in the question. It could be found on the tables. Here I will find that table which will help me out in determining anyone's status. So this is like he is going to spend 115 days. So he's like falling in this criteria of the one who is going to visit UK in between 91 to 120 days. And he will be considered resident if how many ties are going to be met. If he was previously resident, then only two ties. Having two ties with UK would mean that he is resident of UK. But if he is not previously resident and spending 115 days in UK this time, then at least he needs to have three ties in UK in order to be determined as a UK resident person, right? And what was his status prior to the tax year 26-27? Despite the fact he had visited UK multiple times, but neither of the tax years he gained the residence status. So I would say as Pure has never been UK resident person in any of the three previous tax years, and he is going to spend 115 days in UK, would mean that he will achieve UK residence status if he has at least two UK ties, right? So now I just going to figure out that how many UK ties does he have with UK? Could you see that according to the information given in the start, it is said that does he have a spouse, possible partner, even a young children, a minor children UK, who is a minor one, I mean, who has not surpassed the age of 18? Is that so? Is there, like, what do you think? Is this condition being met? Is this tie being fulfilled? It is like so clearly mentioned over here. And I am asking the question that does he have his immediate family, his spouse, and minor children who are living in UK? See, it is said that We are talking about the tax year 26-27, right? So Corey's wife Dana in the UK, and yes, that's the point over here. So we will say that his spouse or minor children living in UK, and the answer is yes, that yes, they are there in UK. Then there is one more to be considered over here. Has he have any sort of property available in UK which he can make use of? I mean, does he have any accommodation in the UK? And that's so, is it like available for a continuous period of 30 days to live in? It's like you can see that he is having an accommodation in the UK, and this is like something which is like available to them for at least a period of 30 days. In fact, for more than 30 days, it is given to them. So, yes, this tie is being fulfilled as well. And then, has he been like resident in UK in either of the previous two tax years for a period of more than 90 years, for a period of more than 90 days? In the previous tax year, they had just lived for 74 days. Well, that's not the case. But when I look at the status, I mean, the number of days that he has spent back in 2024-25, he spent 105 days in UK, which makes me believe that if it is asked that either of the previous two tax year, has he lived for more than 90 days? My answer will be yes. So this is another tie being fulfilled in this regard as well. So I'm just going to write them down over here as well. So has he spent more than 90 days in any of the previous two tax years? And the answer is yes. And does he have any available accommodation which is available for use for continuous period of 30 days? And the answer is again yes. So these three ties are being met over here, which are at least required for the sake of him to be treated as a UK resident person, though there are two other ties as well, which he is not fulfilling in this case. Number one, does he have a substantial work in UK, or is he like spending more time in UK as compared to the rest of the world? Well, this is like also being met in this case as well. So he's like having even more than three ties to be met. And as we have mentioned, only three, as three is the minimum criteria to achieve for a person to be treated as a UK resident person. So what has to be my answer? Is he a UK resident person? This is like so clear, as he has met three UK ties, so he will be regarded as a UK resident person for the tax year 26-27. See, this is how we have determined his status. In requirement A, not just we had to explain that how his resident status is going to be determined, and then concluding that whether he is resident or not. As of now, we have concluded that yes, he is a resident person. And surely we did not discuss the automatic test, because they have explicitly said that don't discuss it, and it is like something not applicable in this case. But one more thing, one verb is still left. We need to state how becoming UK resident would affect his liability to UK tax. If he is going to be treated as a UK resident person, then will there be any impact on his UK liability? And the answer is yes. If a person is like said to be a UK resident person, that his worldwide income, his UK income, his overseas income, everything will be brought to UK income tax rules. And which is why he will have to pay tax on his overall income, though double taxation relief will be available. I mean, we need to see that if there happens to be any overseas income, which is like the case over here, then how much of the tax has been paid in the overseas country and how much of the tax is being demanded in UK. And out of these two taxes, the lower amount will be given to him in UK as a form of double taxation relief. So becoming a UK resident person would mean that his worldwide income will be subject to UK income tax, though double taxation relief will be available in respect of any tax, in respect of, in fact, double charge to taxation. So whatever the tax they've already paid and whatever UK tax is being demanded on overseas income will be picking up the lower amount, and this is going to be relieved against UK income tax liability in the form of relief. Okay, first thing first. This is how I have answered, and I have specifically kept this thing in mind that I will not be missing out on any verb. I mean, whatsoever actions, whatsoever the demands my examiner had put in as far as this requirement is concerned, I'll be fulfilling all of them. So I have explained that how his residence status is going to be concluded. I have made a conclusion that whether he is a resident or coming his a UK resident person would have an impact on his liability to UK and income tax. And this question is of worth 6 marks. And this was something which I had identified in the start. I'm just going to tell you that you really need to be very conscious when it comes to a descriptive question. Whenever you are having a complete theoretical, complete descriptive question, you need to mention, you need to take into account that how many marks are associated with a certain requirement. As you had to deal with 6 marks, so you had to at least present 6 valid points. And if you find that your answer is not being covered up in 6 points, then you may make 4, but at least that many marks are to be quoted, that many valid points are to be quoted, which would going to be exactly equivalent to the worth of marks associated with that requirement. Okay, so let's see that whether I have mentioned 6 valid points or not, and every valid point should be given in the form of small paragraph. And small paragraph would mean either you will be making 1 line or you will be making 2 lines, or maximum you will have to present a valid point in the form of maximum in the form of 3 lines. So here is my first valid point, that how his residence status is being determined, right? So this is going to be his first valid point. And then this is my second valid point, that he was previously resident in UK. He was not previously a resident in UK and is going to spend 115 days, and he will achieve his UK resident status if he has 3 UK ties at least. Just reconfirm this thing. As having been a non-resident person, you have to have at least 3 UK ties. Two UK ties will make you become a UK resident person if you were previously resident, but as Kore was not previously a resident person, so having three UK ties at least would make him a UK resident person, right? So this is like going to be another point. And then I have mentioned three ties which are being fulfilled, which is the least criteria that needs to be fulfilled in this regard. So considering he has met three ties, so he's going to be regarded as a UK resident person. So this is like another point, if I'm not wrong, in which I have presenting the conclusion. And then last but not the least, that what is going to be the income tax implication that is also mentioned. So see, I have made multiple points in order to draft this answer. My the way I have discussed multiple ties, see, every tie will actually be letting me have secured 1 point, because this is like in itself producing one valid point. So it's like the first paragraph, the second one, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. So I've made 7 points in respect of this. Is this thing clear? See, I have mentioned the heading in the start as well, because this is like going to be the most important thing. Is this thing clear to each and every one of you? Students, is my voice audible? Is my voice audible to each and every one of you? All right. Thank you for confirming. So did you get this point? That which things you need to take into account while drafting an answer? All right, now I'm heading towards the second requirement. See, I've taken into account requirement A, and now we have requirement B in front of us. Four is disposal of assets in the tax year 25-26 and 26-27, for which both exhibit 1 and 2 are important. For this part of the works, you should assume Kore is UK resident for the whole of the tax year 26-27 and will receive taxable income in that year of 42320. So if it is like going to be his taxable income, this is going to give us an idea that this person is a high rate taxpayer because his income has already crossed the basic rate band threshold of 37,700. This is the income less personal allowance figure, because it is said it is a taxable income, and taxable income is what? It is like taking a total income into account, and then you deduct the qualifying interest payment, and then you finally deduct the personal allowance figure. And that's how in the end you come across a taxable income figure, which means personal allowance has already been taken into account, and this is the figure on which bands needs to be applied. So 37,700 must have been used against it, and then this income will definitely be falling in the high rate band. So this person is a high rate taxpayer. Okay, but here is a twist in the question. If this line has not been mentioned, then I would have surely considered this amount against which personal loss has been taken into account. But there is a twist. It says that this is the taxable income, but before deducting personal loss. I am reiterating on this fact because these are those little things which one ignores. If no such information about the deduction of personal loss is given, then taxable income would itself mean that personal loss has been deducted. It has already been taken into account. but they have specifically clarified that this is the figure against which personal allowance needs to be deducted still. So after 42320, when one will be deducting the personal allowance figure of 12570, this person's income will be falling in the basic rate band entirely. So he will be regarded as what? Yes, he is a basic rate taxpayer. In fact, some of his income in the basic rate band is like still left behind. Okay, we'll see that what income is gonna be left behind. Okay, so now focus on the verbs which we need to take into account while answering a certain question. We need to explain how each of the forests disposal in the tax year 25-26 will be treated for the purpose of capital gains tax. So again, we will be giving an explanation. When explanation is done, of course, we shall be using the word processing document. And it does require a calculation of forests CGT liability for the tax year 22, 23, 26, 27 as well. And altogether, this is a huge requirement as it is like containing 11 marks. So here we need to deal with two verbs. We need to make an explanation and we need to calculate. As explanation or any sort of description, if even it requires a little bit, the calculation needs to be done on Word document. By the time I arrive at the calculation of forest CGT liability, for which I will give you like 5 minutes for doing the calculation on your own first, so that you will also be having a little bit participation in this drafting response activity. We will see that if the calculation is extensive, then I'll be rather using the spreadsheet instead of word processing document. But right now I'm going to open the word processing document. I have highlighted the verb so that in the end, at the point of drafting the answer, I will not be skipping anything. And then either one heading or multiple subheadings, they are required. And for the sake of like saving my time, I'm going to copy the heading. See, I am going to copy this heading, explain his disposal and calculation of his tax liability. I'm going to use the short key Control C and again, word processing document. Here I am going to see Control V. So this is how I have copied and pasted all the whole requirement over here. But I'm going to turn this requirement into heading. So explain something, the commanding words are omitted. Explanation of forest disposals in the tax year 26-27, which will be treated for CGT and calculate. Instead of using the word calculate, I'm just going to turn the requirement into heading, calculation of forest CGT liability for the tax year 26-27, right? So you might be finding it a very detailed heading, but that's fine. See, I'm just going to turn it into the bold letter so that examiner will specifically come to know that this is the heading, because there are certain beautification techniques we need to apply for making our script a little bit distinguishable, right? Okay, so first of all, explanation with respect to 25-26 is given. So exhibit 1, they have said that exhibit 1 is important, but exhibit 1 is important for the sake of like determining his status, because we know that if a person is a non-UK resident person, they will not be obliged to pay UK CGT. But if a person is like said to be a UK resident person, then they will have to pay UK CGT on the disposals. But see, Kore used to live in UK till 1st of May 23 since long. I mean, he had always lived in UK. He was basically initially a UK resident person, and then he moved to the country of Medora. And in the 3 tax years, he is a non-UK resident person. And now in the tax year 26-27, he is making his comeback. He is coming back and is gonna be treated as a UK resident person. So he used to live like few years ago in UK. Then he became a non-UK resident person for 3 years. And then in the tax year 26-27, he is coming back. So in the period in which he was not in UK, he was living in the country of Medora, he's like going to sell anything that will be regarded as something related to a temporary absence period abroad, for which if you okay, so see, on 1st of December, Kure had disposed of a statue. Uh, and the most important thing is the statue got acquired in September 23 when he was a UK resident person. So this was acquired when he was a UK resident person and is going to sell it off when he was a non-UK resident person. But don't forget that his period of absence, I mean, the years in which he was supposedly living in overseas country was of less than 5 years. So this is like falling under the temporary absence period abroad, for which it is said that if being a non-UK resident, you're going to sell something that will still be caught under UK tax rules if the period is said to be a temporary absence period abroad. And then on 1st February 2026, by the way, 1st February 2026 is the date which is falling in the tax year 25-26. It is about the takeover activity. So if there happens to be a gain as a result of takeover of SQ Limited, that will also be subject to tax in the tax year 26-27. Okay, nobody had interrupted me when I said that on 1st of September 23, he was a UK resident person on the date of purchase, because temporary absence period abroad rules are applicable over a person who had acquired something before becoming a non-UK resident person, and in the period in which he was a temporary absence. I mean, if that period is like going to be counted as a temporary absence period abroad, then in that period, if he sells something, then it is not going to be caught. This is like going to be subject to UK CGT once he comes back. I said that 1st September 23 was the date when he was a UK resident person, but nobody said anything. Was he actually a UK resident person on 1st September 23? I'm just going to show this table to you once again. Just tell me, students, just let me know what is your stance on the purchase date of statue. Was that something purchased in the tax year when Kore was a UK resident person? A very simple thing. Just look at the dates. He got a statue on 1st of September 2023. Was he a UK resident person on that date? See, he moved to Medora on 6th of April 23, which would mean that when he purchased the statue, he was a non-UK resident person, and when he sold it off on 1st of December 25, he was still a non-UK resident person. And in such cases, if the asset is acquired as well as sold when a person was a non-UK resident person, that is not subject to any CGT rules. Neither the gain nor the loss will be like caught under UK CGT rules. But if something was acquired at the time when a person was a UK resident person, as it is the case with the takeover activity, and when it is sold, a person is non-UK resident, but that period is like a period which is counted as a temporary absence period abroad, then the gain is going to be chargeable according to the tax year of it. So now I'm going to mention it. Kore has filed he was on the temporary absence period abroad. Now, I need to mention the temporary absence period abroad as well, as where an individual is said to be a UK resident individual country is of less than complete to be counted as a temporary absence period abroad. And now we need to discuss both of his disposals, as statue is acquired as well as disposed of when he was a non-person, then neither the gain nor the loss need to be taken into account. As you could see that when it comes to the statue, it was purchased for 17,000, but it's gonna be sold for a loss of 7,400, is not to be relieved under UK CGT rules. I mean, no relief is available. On gains, we pay the taxes. On if there had been a gain, no tax payment was to be made. And if there happens to be a loss, then no relief is available. As takeover of shares, SQ Limited will result in a gain, as the shareholding was acquired at the time when Kore was a UK resident person, then such according to the date of their disposal. In fact, according to the date of so the date on which Kore will arrive in UK, the gate becomes the tax 27, it's gonna be in the tax year 26-27. So gain will be chargeable in the tax year 26, 27, according to the temporary absence respect of the disposal of these liability for the tax year 27. So we need to calculate the light, then the relevant calculation could be done on Word document, but whensoever you find that it is like requiring a lot of to separate calculation in its desired manner needs to be carried out. Okay, so what exactly now to be done? I am going to carry out this extensive calculation, and in this regard, I will definitely be taking your contribution, the gain related to the takeover activity in. You need to tell me the gain related to the takeover activity of SQ Limited, as the takeover activity is involving Can you see the screen? Okay, so as the takeover activity is like involving the consideration to be received in the form of cash as well. So as though this takeover has happened in the tax year 25-26, but the gain is going to be chargeable in the tax year 26-27. And in 26-27, Kore has from you people is I want you people to get this point to let me know that how much of the gain is related to this takeover activity of SQ Limited shares. That will not be taking much time. I'm giving you 5 minutes. Us again figure related to the house disposal in Medora. But then there is like another disposal as well, for which I'll be doing the discussion after a little while. But before that, I really want you people to do a calculation related to the disposal of these shares as a result of takeover activity. Whenever, as a result of takeover, we receive cash, then we consider that some part of the previous shareholding has been disposed of. And by taking the cash received as the consideration, we figure out the gain on which CGT liability will definitely be due. So kindly read it out and start doing the computation. So students, had you been able to figure out the value of gain related to the shares in SQ Limited, which happened as a result of takeover activity? Is there anyone who had figured out the value of gain related to this takeover activity? Now, the first thing is, okay, I got one answer. I think 5,700 gain. Yes, it's like very close to this. Okay. So first of all, as this is like one requirement whose one portion is being done on the word, you are going to copy the heading and you are going to open the spreadsheet and will be the same heading. This is how examiner will be able to trace that if a certain portion of the question is like mentioned somewhere else, then with the help of same heading, they will be able to identify where the workings are done. All right. In SQ Limited, and alongside that, he received £12,000 in total in the form of cash. And how many shares he used to have previously? They were 2,000 shares. So first of all, you're going to write down what the consideration you will be receiving. I'll be doing the fact that consideration, how much of the consideration is received. As consideration is received in the form of cash, that little bit amount of cash. So how much of the value of the cash you receive in the form of consideration, that 12,000, but a lot of that receive the shares, and each is going to be on the day of takeover. As when the shares were received, every share in TW Public Limited Company was of worth 4.5 pounds, right? So 4.5 pounds is the worth of the shares received, but this is like the information related to those shares which were given for a sister Florence out of the shareholding held in TW Public Limited Company. Does anyone know that what percentage do I have to use for the takeover activity? It is like somewhere mentioned in the same paragraph. What is that? It's like so clear that when the takeover happened, then in TW Public Limited Company, the market value of each share was different. What was that? And later on, we will be definitely using the other market value of 4.5 pounds, but this is like with reference to the date on which the subsequent date of takeover. It's of 3.5 pounds, right? So 4,000 is the number of shares they receive as a result of takeover activity, and 3.5 is the market value of each share received. So what is like going to be the total market value of the shares received? This is going to be of 4,000 into no gain in respect of what shares we have received will be calculated. But yes, as we have received cash as well, so that would lead to the total value of the consideration received will be, that's going to be of 26 £6,000. This is the overall market value of the total consideration that we have received. And on the basis of this market value, I am going to apportion Core had shareholding in SQ Limited, which they is my voice now clear? Is my voice clear? Okay. So the thing is, we need to see that how much of the costs can be associated with cash receipt and the receiving of shares. As according to the information given, the shares were acquired previously in SQ Limited for 13,500. So this is the expense of Core which he did in the past. And now, as a result of takeover, whatever he spent in the past is now going to convert into TW PLC shares as well as the cash. So whatever the money he spent in the future, that cost needs to be allocated to the cash that he is now generating right now, so that at least for the value that he has received in the form of cash, we will be calculating the gain. We consider as if whatever the previous shareholding is, that is partially converted into cash and partially turned into shares. So SQ PLC originally acquired shares. They were taken over by a TW Public Limited Company. As a result of this, they gave us 4,000 shares and £12,000 in cash. This is why the previous cost needs to be apportioned over the new type of both type of consideration that we have received. So it's like 13,500 is the cost into market value of the consideration received divided over the total market value. So how much of the cost is associated with the receiving of cash? This is 6230.8, or you may take it as 6231. And how much of the cost we can associate with shares. So right now, with respect to the consideration received in the form of shares, we will not be calculating gain, as this is merely paper for paper exchange. But yes, in the future, we now be able to when it is merely a paper for paper exchange. So the gains, so the cost figure that we may associate with newly acquired shares is of £7,269. Now, as the cash we have received, that will lead to a chargeable gain calculation. So whatever the value is received, whatever the cash we have received, that is called as disposal value. The disposal value will be of £12,000. This is the value of cash we have received, against which we are going to deduct the cost. And the cost in respect of this cash receiving is of 6230.8. I'm just going to take it as 6231, and that's how it will generate a chargeable gain figure of £5,769, right? So £5,769 is said to be the gain related to the takeover activity. Okay, now students, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy the whole calculation. I'm going to paste it a little later. Why? Because this was a working. Sorry, this is like still there. So sorry, this is not working, by the way. Generally, we do the main format thing first. I mean, we make the main format first, and then we are going to show the sub workings. That is like usually preferred right it is not being cut and paste. So that is like a little bit issue over here. All right. Okay, so the main format is that I am going to see what the gain related to this takeover activity is, this in the required cell. So this is like gain related to the takeover activity. The other thing that I need to mention is the disposal of house in the country of Medora. As the gain is already calculated, it's mentioned the gain related to house is of 34,500 pounds. And then as Kure has transferred few shares to his sister Florence, that gain needs to be calculated as well. So I'm just going to see what the shares in TW Public Limited Company will be, for which I'm going to do second working, but right now I'm going to do the second working a little far from calculation, because this is actually the prescribed way of showing the calculation that you will be presenting first. The sub workings to be done. So this is like Davis' sister, 700 of the 4,000 shares that he now owns in TW Public Limited Company. I found on that day. So when a brother is going to give away something to his sister, it's a connected party. It is a related party transaction where the disposal should be considered equivalent to the market value of asset on the day of transfer. So it's like 4.5 has to be the market value, like 700. So 700 into 4.5, that actually makes up 50 pounds, against which we are going to deduct the cost. Now, what is the cost of the shares? See, as Kore is having 4,000 shares in TW Public Limited Company, who are to second references as well as column I number 8. I8 is like representing the cost. So to 4,000 shares, then how much is the cost related to 700 shares? So the 700 shares cost is equivalent to 1 to be able to know what the gain figure is equal to. I'm going to apply the formula of 3150 less 1272. The gain figure is of 1.8. Public company is of 1,878. Now, as there are three things which are going to be chargeable in the tax year 26-27, though two assets are actually sold in the tax year 26-27, and this takeover activity is going to be chargeable not according to the tax year of disposal, but according to the tax year of arrival. So what is now going to be an overall gain figure? The overall gain figure in this regard will be of 42147. Against this, of course, this is the overall gain related to the tax 2627. There is no current year loss. Now I'm going to deduct annual exempt amount for CGT. Able to come to know what my taxable gain figure will be. The taxable gain figure in this regard shall be of 39147. So this is basically the overall gain figure, the taxable gain figure on which tax liability shall have to be calculated. And as you remember that in this question, we have to calculate the CGT liability for 4A. Now, for that purpose, we will definitely need to know that how much of the capacity is still existing basic. Initially said that his taxable income is of 42320 before deducting personal allowance. So 42320. This is the third working that I need to do. And this is like all about first getting to know that what his taxable income is after deducting the personal allowance. 42320 is the taxable income, but when I deduct the personal allowance of 12570, his taxable income turns out to be 29750. And that is like going to let me know that what is the basic rate band left over figure. As the basic rate band does have 37,700 pounds capacity, against which 29,750 has already been 50 pounds, right? So this is the figure which is given in the basic rate band. And if you remember that the basic rate for CGT is 18% and the high rate is 24%. So all those students who are going to take their exam attempt again, the rates were different for the previous tax year. There was a distinction in between the non-residential disposals and the residential disposal, but right now that's not the case over here. Now 39147 is the taxable gain figure, out of which I'm going to use the basic rate band first. How much of the basic rate band is like given? This is of 6950 pounds. I may mention the working reference. Otherwise, I may specifically type the cell reference number as well. The basic rate is 18%. So that's how we'll be able to come to know what the CGT liability in this regard will be. 7950 into 18%, that gives rise to a tax figure of 1431. And now I need to see that how much of the taxable gain figure will be falling in the high rate band. Now, 39147 less 7950, that makes up 31197. This is the gain value which will be falling in the high rate band. And this is like gonna be taxed over a high rate of 24%. So that would give rise to a tax figure of 7487. And now what the overall CGT liability is, this will be of 8918 pounds. So this is basically the tax liability, the required answer, which we had to figure out. Now see, what do we need to do? We have to show the basic format first. From presentation point of view, this is like always recommended, but if you will be like doing things other way around, you may still grab marks. But if things are done in a professional manner, then obviously chances of securing good marks will become bright. So you'll be showing the main format first, and after the main format, later on you'll be showing all the sub requirements, all the uh, other calculations that you have done. But there is like one problem, and that is what that we started off in with the working one right from the scratch, and now there is like some glitch over here which is not letting me cutting paste it. Otherwise, when I started doing it, I had an idea to later on cut and paste it on a cell which comes after the main requirement, but this is not working right now. So what I'm trying to say, that first of all you need to show the main format in which the taxable gain is calculated, and then you have applied the rate, and all the relevant subworkings are then shown as a later part of this whole question. But of course, all the subworkings need to be shown. Is this thing clear? Is this thing clear to each and every one of you? All right. Now we are having another requirement again. I hope you have got the point that how the requirements are to be read, that you just keep on highlighting the verbs, the action words, so that in the end, when you are going to draft the answer, you will not miss out anything. Here we need to explain, this is the first verb with respect to the amount of inheritance tax payable only. So from IHT perspective only, what do you need to do? Whether it would be beneficial for Emma to make a lifetime gift of either or both of her paintings as opposed to retaining them until her death. And there is no need to address the annual exemption. Okay. So keep this thing in mind that you are not going to take into account any exemption. Otherwise, generally, if this is not mentioned that against the gains figure or against the inheritance tax transfers, we usually deduct the exemptions figure first in order to determine that what an IHT figure will be, as Emma makes use of this every year. You should assume that there will be no NRV available regardless of when the transfer takes place, right? Okay, so even there's going to be no nil rate band available as well. So keeping these two things which we are not supposed to apply, which is like otherwise applicable, we have to discuss, we have to explain IHT implication for lifetime transfers of either one or two of her paintings, or I mean either one painting or both of her paintings, as opposed to what if she retains it till the date of her death. Okay, I am going to open now Exhibit 3, because this is something I've told you that with Section A question, the best part is that they will always mention you that which exhibit is relevant for the sake of drafting your answer. This is a little bit information related to Exhibit 3. Of course, by this time, people must have forgotten what they have read with respect to this exhibit. But even then, going through the entire question in the start is must. Okay, so I'm just going to make you people understand the inheritance tax implication, and then I'll show you the standard solution straight away. See, they are talking about the extracts from the memorandum prepared by your manager dated 1st March 27, and Kore has asked for advice on the inheritance tax advantages of his mother, Emmer, who is a long-term UK resident individual who is making lifetime gifts to Kore of either or both of the following paintings. So she has not yet given the paintings, but she might either give either of the two or both paintings to him right now, or she may retain it till death. So watercolor painting is is having a market value right now of worth 41,000 pounds, while the portrait painting is having a worth of 37,000 pounds right now. And what may happen in the future? What may happen in the future? The value of watercolor may reduce in future, while the portrait value will increase in future. So will happen as a result of death IHT on lifetime transfer, and what may happen if she retains till death. Okay. So first of all, as life comes before death, so I'll be discussing the lifetime implication first, as Emma will be making a transfer to Corey in her lifetime. So in the tax year of transfer, when Emma is alive, this is to be treated as pet. Both of these transfers are treated as pet. And or more than 3 years are gone from the date of if there happens to be a time gap of at least 3 or more than 3 years, then taper relief will be provided. So if it is a gap of more than 3 but less than 4 years from date of gift till the date of death, then taper relief will be of 20%. Then if there happens to be a gap of more than 4 but less than 5, then the taper relief will be provided at the rate of 50%. I mean, with every passing year, there happens to be an increase in the taper relief percentage by 20%. Right? So, what I have told you that in the lifetime implication, there is going to be no IHT. Why? Because the transfers are paid. And if she dies within 7 years, then death IHT on the lifetime transfers will be calculated, but still they will have a relief as considering the time gap in between the date of gift and the date of death. The relevant death IHT can be reduced down with the help of taper relief. But see, if I talk about the watercolor, as she's going to make the gift of watercolor right now, that is 41,000 pounds. But by the time she dies, the value of the watercolor painting will be reduced. See, obviously, when we are starting, remember that this is not going to be creating a problem. Why? Because if there happens to be a fall in value, if there happens to be any decrease in the value of asset later, then at the point of calculating death IHT on lifetime transfer, the gross chargeable amount of will be reduced by the available, which is going to reduce the value of asset, the GCA, the gross chargeable amount, while we are calculating death IHT. And well, when it comes to painting, just like watercolor painting, in the lifetime, it is a pet, so there's going to be no tax at all. And by the time when donor dies, if there has happened to be an increase in the value, that is not going to
have any impact, because lifetime transfers carry an element of locking the value. If the value of asset is 37,000 pound, then the same value will be carried forward in the form of GCA, the gross chargeable amount on which death IHT will be calculated. But the best part is, for those assets where there happens to be a decrease in the value of asset, that fall, that decrease shall have to be taken into account. But see, for the fall in value relief, by the time we are calculating death IHT, the donee of the asset, I mean, when Emmer has transferred the watercolor painting to Pure, and Emmer dies within 7 years of making the transfer, and there happens to be a reduction in the value of asset, that fall, that reduction will be available to Pure for the sake of calculating death IHT if he still retains that asset by the time death IHT shall have to be calculated. So either he has to retain the asset, or if in case by the time Emma dies, and she dies within 7 years of making the transfer, so death IHT will be due, but Pure has sold the asset, then as long as he has sold the asset on an arm's length basis to be, I mean, death IHT on lifetime transfer will be calculated, that, but that is not going to be impacted. I mean, as long as he has retained the asset by the time death IHT on lifetime transfer will have to be calculated, or if he has sold it at an arm's length value, then fall in the value, the reduction in the value, this relief is available. But if he has sold the asset and that's done not at an arm's length value, then of course there's going to be no relief available. And for instance, if Emmer does not give away these assets in her lifetime, rather she retains till her death, then of course the value of the assets which are prevailing by the time of her death, they will be picked up as they make up the part of her death estate computation. Watercolor painting must have reduced in its value, so the reduced value will be picked up, but portrait value will be increased, and the increased value shall have to be picked up. And unfortunately, there's going to be no implication in respect of taper relief. I just hope that you people have got this point. Let me just show you the standard solution straight away. And do not forget that whenever we are going to draft any answer, that shall definitely be carrying a certain heading. Okay. So see, this requirement was carrying 6 marks. So technically, we need to make at least 6 valid points. And now I'm just going to differentiating by Emmer. As the gift would be pet, no IHT will be charged in the lifetime. But if she survives the gift for 7 years, then there's going to be no tax, absolutely. This is the first point. And the second point is, but if she dies within 7 years of making the transfer, then death IHT on lifetime transfer shall have to be calculated. But death IHT will be reduced with the help of taper relief as long as there is found to be a gap of at least 3 or more than 3 years where the taper relief is provided at the rate of 20%. And if there happens to be an increased gap, that with every passing year, extra 20% relief will be applied. Then the value of the lifetime gift is determined with respect to the value which is prevailing at the date of transfer. While if she retains the gift till her death, then whatever the value is basically existing at the point of her death, that shall be taken into account, which is like not a good thing in case of portrait painting, because this has actually increased in its value. So that has made 3 points. Then we have with lifetime transfers, as the watercolor painting is expected to fall in value. So this is like going to be adjusted against the GCA. at the point of calculating death IHT on lifetime transfer. So this relief will be available at the point when death IHT will be calculated, as long as the Core would have retained the asset by the time of Emmer's death, or if she has sold it, uh, then as long as the disposal has taken place at an arm's length value, then relief will be available. But now this is like making up almost 4 points, and I have to produce 6 points. So the fifth point is like something which I may write about uh, the fall in value relief. I hope you remember that fall in value relief is going to reduce the GCA, is going to reduce the value of the asset of the watercolor painting itself, of that particular asset itself. Otherwise, the original GCA will be used for the sake of adjusting future NRB. I mean, otherwise, the original GCA will then be used for the sake of adjusting NRB against other transfers. So this might be making another point. And then the conclusion, that will be like making the last point. So in the view above, it is likely that both paintings need to be gifted in the lifetime. So this is how we have made 6 valid points. And every valid point should be of either 1 line, 2 lines, or maximum of 3 lines. But if in case it becomes unavoidable for you to narrate a valid point in less than 3 lines, then you may go up to 4. But it's better than split the point into 2 sub-points. Is this thing clear? Is this all clear? All right. Now, we are still having 2 requirements left in this question, requirement D and E. And we have to wind up the session by in like next 10 minutes. So requirement D is carrying 12 marks, while requirement E is a typical question and it's carrying 5 marks. So instead of doing requirement D right now, I'll be dealing with requirement E first. And of course, the second part of this game changer webinar session will be done tomorrow as well. So we'll take a start with requirement D. So in this case, they say that it's about the refund of income tax. I have become aware that a few months ago, Core received a refund of income tax from HMRC in respect of the tax year 22-23. He has not been able to determine why the refund was made. In respect of the income tax refund, set out the actions. So this is basically the thing. Set out the actions which our firm needs to take and the matters which should be brought to Core's attention. So there has happened to be a refund for the tax year 22-23. We need to see that if there is like a valid reason behind this. If yes, then he may retain this amount. Otherwise, if we find out that the refund that he has got from HMRC doesn't have any justified background, I mean, there happens to be a certain sort of negligence or a glitch from HMRC's part, which is why Core needs to return this amount to HMRC, or he may authorize us, I mean, our firm, to notify HMRC about that an additional refund has been made to him, which is not justified. And we need to make him understand that if he doesn't refund the amount of income tax to HMRC, if it is like unjustified, obviously, then later on he may have to face certain penalties. So if Core would understand this thing and he makes a refund of the income tax that he has made, where he has got relevant to the tax year 22-23, if there is like no justifiable reason behind it, then that's perfectly fine. But if Core refuses to pay back the amount of refund that he has got, then we should stop acting for core, and we need to inform this thing to HMRC that we are no longer providing services as tax advisors, as a team of tax advisor to core, though we need not to mention the reason behind leaving the services, the reason behind quitting this agreement with core to HMRC. And if this matter falls under the money laundering regime, then this must be notified, this must be like brought into the knowledge of money laundering reporting officer. Now, the thing is that this is a very typical style of question. It is related to ethics, and we all know that every time, with every advanced taxation attempt, every time you see a question of worth 5 marks to be tested related to ethical areas. So the chapter of ethics, though it's a very small one, but it is very important, as a question related to ethical concerns will always be tested. They will always be tested as a part of section A question, and they will always be carrying 5 marks. So one should not even think of not preparing this chapter. Please prepare this chapter in completely, and that's so in a very wise way. Okay, for the sake of like doing a practice of ethics question, this is the document that I have downloaded from ACCA site. See, in the past, as I said, that every time we see a question of ethics of worth 5 marks, and this is like actually making up a little bit portion of the total question. So examiner has extracted the portion of ethical areas, and their suggest relevant standard solutions are given as well. So if I talk about this question, if the examiner is just going to copy paste these few lines and just going to mention the response related to this part of the question, then this is how you are going to have a good resource for the sake of preparing yourself well enough for such ethics oriented questions. So in this document, which I was like showing you people before, I'll be sharing these documents with you people tomorrow. All of these documents, the format related and these ethics responses. See, this is the question. This is basically cropped from the section A question, as these lines were basically reflecting the ethical concerns and their response. The solution is given then. Then another scenario, I mean, this is like another portion of ethics area, which has been cropped from some past exam attempt section A question, and its response is given as well. So this is how you will be like having multiple ethics oriented questions which have been taken out of the big picture, the big question of section A, and their relevant solutions responses are given as well. So this is how you can prepare yourself very well as far as how a certain answer needs to be drafted. I mean, this is like something which is must, which is like something for which we do have a know-how that this is definitely going to be tested. Then why would you not be preparing it for it in the best possible manner? So I'll be sharing this document with you people as well, so that you may have multiple situations in front of you along with their responses, right? Okay, let me just show you the standard solution for at least requirement E, the last requirement, as I did discuss it, but I did not type it. So I'm going to show you the standard solution. As this is a descriptive question, it is carrying 5 marks. So one should be making at least 5 valid points, right? So this is the valid point. The second valid point, third, fourth, and fifth. Kindly read them out as well. I hope you people have gone through the answer. All right. So what we did discuss in today's session, I had made an introduction to the paper format, as we are having two Section A as well as Section B. Just give me a minute. I told you that this is going to be a computer-based exam, which I hope you already know about that. And it's going to be 100 marks paper, and 50 are the is the minimum requirement for a student to have for the sake of passing the exams. We had concentrated on the formats, and I have told you about the professional skills, the exam techniques, the question practice in terms of this computer-based question, which we will continue later on the second day, as well as we still have to deal with one requirement of Section A as well as both of the questions related to Section B. And then I'll be sharing the pocket notes with you people, the list of important questions to be done from Kaplan revision kit with you people tomorrow. Once this session will be concluded, then I'll be like sharing all the relevant resources with you people, and I'll be giving you a plan that how you need to prepare yourself in last 10 days before appearing in exam, right? So in today's session, I have also announced the start of the revision batch, which you may join if you want to. And this is the number of admission team, your technical support team. And now, people, if you have got any question and answer in your mind, either related to current session or anything else relevant to advanced taxation exam in general, you may please drop them down in the dialog box. If you people have any question, if you people have any question in your mind, please let me know by dropping your concern in the dialog box. Though I have shared the pocket notes and the list of important questions with my students, with my already enrolled students few days ago, but I'll be sharing this with each and every one of you once this session would come to an end, and that is like tomorrow. So tell me, students, did you find the session fruitful? Had you been able to learn anything? Yes, definitely. One needs to do more and more practice in order to uh, have a good grip on the tax subject. All right. So the time has come to wind up the session. Thank you so much for being a part of this session. Have a happy weekend. Goodbye.